Welcome to the Hard Truth Podcast. This is Jeremy Fouts. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about be a man and practice masculinity. This is something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. And, a lot of you know that I have two boys, 17 and 15. And, I have a lot of boys at my house. So I definitely see and experience a lot of men and young men in my home. And, some of the conversations has really, drove me to putting this podcast together. As I see, it's a pretty tragic situation. Most boys are being raised by single moms or very little men in their life. And today I wanted to talk about what it means to be an alpha, what it means to be a masculine man. I'm going to try to do this in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but it may go longer as I want to definitely do the best I can do to really bring the importance to you listening. And I know we have a majority population of men listening to this podcast, but for you women, also there's going to be some good points for you, and hopefully you can get your husbands to listen to it as well. So let's go! The situation I'm talking about here is there's a lot of boys that have no idea, how to be a man, and is masculinity okay? We have a school system that is mainly female teachers. And in our school system, nothing wrong with that. They're taught mainly by the women that are just basically you sit at a desk and you're told what to do. And that is a whole nother topic if you really want me to get into that. That's why we have a lot of different issues with ADHD, diagnosis, ADD, all these different things. And they have no idea, these boys, how to be a man. They turn into just a yes energy towards the female, and they don't respect themselves. They have been told all the things that make a man is not accepted in today's world. The competitiveness, the rough and tumble, they're told is toxic, that their role is not needed. The only way to turn this around until we start until we start celebrating masculinity. So we have to turn these boys into men. So I'm going to do my best in this podcast of really breaking it down for you. See, men must be protectors. I'm going to talk about this here in a few minutes too. And do you look, the question I'm going to ask men listening right now, do you look like you can protect your family? That's the first and foremost thing that you need to ask yourself. Does your presence speak protection? See, kids are 40 times more chance to being molested without a strong man present. So it is our job, and we should be proud of it, to be strong, masculine men. Your first responsibility is to be a man. That is the first thing you can be as a respectful, father, husband, employee, anything else. That's great, but you have to decide to be a man. So let me talk about, the alpha man and what that really is. There's a big misconception, when you start talking about masculinity, you start talking about the alpha, that a lot of times people just want to turn their ear off and say, oh, he's one of those guys. He's one of those macho guys, that believes that he's the king and he's going to walk around. Well, that's really not what an alpha is. That's really not what a strong leadership man that believes in his masculinity is. So let me talk about that. An alpha isn't about dominance or control, but about strength through service. That's something that is very important for you to understand. The next is highlight traits like leadership, reliability, compassion, and self-discipline. That is an alpha man. Is being a role model and a source of stability for your family. So an alpha man, again, is not the guy that beats on his chest, pokes out his muscles, and thinks that he's all that. He's someone that is secure in himself, and he provides that strength through service. And he understands that role that he's taken on in leadership, reliability, compassion, and self-discipline. And he understands the importance of being a role model. See, again, that's what's happened with our young men, is they don't know how to be a man. And I'm telling you guys, this is a very important role for us fathers to understand and to accept that responsibility. Now let's talk about the role of a father. A father, number one, is considered to be a provider. It ensures the family's physical, emotional, and financial needs are met. I can tell you that this society today would be a whole different place if we had a lot of strong masculine fathers. And that's one is we've got to be a provider. Number two, we've got to be a protector. We got to offer a sense of safety and security. And then number three, we've got to be good teachers. We got to instill values like integrity, resilience, and respect through actions, not just words. And then number four, we need to be a good supporter. We need to actively participate in your children's lives and nurture their unique strengths. So the role of a father has got some four important roles, and we must be able to have those roles in place in order to show these young men how to be men. Now let's talk about the role of a husband. It's a loving partner. You got to be emotionally available and show appreciation for your spouse. You also got to be a team player. You got to collaborate and share responsibilities. I know for us men, we talk about alpha men, we talk about masculinity. Believe it or not, I do a lot of the cooking. Believe it or not, I help clean around the house. I try to organize, the things that are my responsibility because we're sharing this. It's not just her responsibility, it's our responsibility. And next is communicator. The husband has to be a good communicator. Listen actively and resolve conflicts with empathy. You say, well, Jeremy, we're masculine men. We're an alpha man. We need to just yell and scream. No, we don't need to do that. See, when you are in complete confidence and confident in a man of who you are and you have self-love for you, there's no reason for yelling and screaming. You've got to have that, have that empathy and understand that our presence and who we are is enough. We don't have to bring across different conflict or anything like that. And then next role of a husband is example of respect. We have to model how a man should treat others, especially if you're in a relationship with your spouse. So you have to model that. That's something that I try to talk to dads that have younger boys, especially. See, what you got to understand is when I show love to my wife, Candace, in front of my boys, that's showing them how to be, a good husband in the future. It's very important for that. When I date Candace, my boys know that one thing, and I've told them since they was 2, 3, 4, 5 year old, I love you, son, but my first responsibility is my wife. And I know a lot of people don't understand that. I mean, anytime, there's been very, very few times in my boys' upbringing that they have been disrespectful to Candace, but those times that they have been, I can tell you all hell has broke loose because I put my finger in their chest and said, that is my wife. You do not speak to her that way. And now a lot of you listening might not like that, but I'm going to tell you as the alpha, as the masculine men that's trying to model how to be a man and how to be a husband, that is going to stick with my boys. And they're going to understand their role of a husband in the future. So you've got to be a good role of a husband and show your young boys and show your young daughters how they should be treated from their husband. Number 4 is the power of leading by example. And this is something that it's hard for you to do. I get it as a dad when you got the responsibilities of work and providing and all these different things, but this is what pays the big dividends. This is what pays the dividends not only once, but like a compounding interest over and over and over that you're going to see not only in your child coming up and becoming a man, but when they become a man and they have kids, it's very important for you to understand the power of leading by example. The first point that I say is actions speak louder than words. Children and spouses both, they look to fathers for cues on how to handle challenges, how to treat others, how to set goals, all these different things. My boys know at the beginning of the year, we set goals, they set goals. They have a vision board. They deal with challenges. They come to me, Dad, how do you deal with challenges? And one thing that I'll say that I've tried to do from a good mentor of mine that taught me this when my boys were young is I tried to always, and I'm going to talk about being vulnerable and letting my boys know that not everything's always perfect in my life. But the one thing that I've never done, or if I haven't in the last 5 to 8 years that I can remember, is I never bring my stress from my work, from my business, and just walk in the door and say, oh, life is horrible, life is this. I let them know if I have challenges, but I let them know that I'm working through those challenges at work. We're dealing with these inventory issues. This is part of life. But remember, your actions speak louder than words. Next is strive for self-improvement. Your fitness, your emotional health, your personal growth. And the question is, are you inspiring to your family? If you look at your fitness alone, I'm big into fitness. You know that I own a nutrition company, and I have people over and over, they say, man, what is the most important part about being physical fit? And I'm like, well, it's not really only one thing. I can go on and on, but I think it all starts with your relationship, of course, with Christ, but your fitness. If you're able to tell yourself to get out of bed, to stay and to go to the gym, to stay away from the cookie, to do all these different things, that's going to show up in every aspect of your life. You're going to have the confidence when you walk in the room. You're going to have your boys or your daughters look up to you as a man and say, my dad is strong. My dad is at the gym. My dad said no to the cookie. My dad said no to the happy hour. My dad is a very strong, disciplined individual. You have to strive for self-improvement to be the best you can be and lead by example. The next point is admit mistakes and show how to handle failure with dignity and accountability. You're going to have failure as a man. You're going to have days that things don't work out the way that you want them to work out, and that's okay, but you have to show your kids, show your spouse that we're going to handle this with dignity and accountability. So the power of leading by example, remember these 3 points. Number 5 is balancing strength and vulnerability. Teach your family that strength includes the ability to show up, but also know that, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. A lot of times we think if we're going to be the alpha, if we're going to be the masculine man, there is no mistakes, there is no weakness. And I believe we need to strive to be the strongest we can be. And there's a difference between weakness and just being open and being honest. That, today might have got the best of me, but I'm going to get the best of it tomorrow. Being open about struggles creates a safe space for your family to do the same. So when Pearson sees or Beckett sees that, I might not have accomplished what my goals wanted to be, but I figure out what I did wrong. Maybe I put the wrong attention in the wrong areas. We're going to figure this out. They look at that same example that I'm modeling for them, and they say, oh, man, that's what a real man is someone that says, I fell short here, but my head's not going to stay down for long. I'm going to make a new goal, a new target. I'm going to talk about what are the things that I need to do different. But letting them know that, being an alpha, being a masculine man, that's something we're striving to be and be proud of that. But it's not always going to go the way we want it to go. Also show that asking for help or learning or leaning on your spouse is a sign of trust, not weakness. You can't do everything alone. So when you're leaning on a spouse for support, you're leaning on someone for support, that is an awesome, smart alpha male. That is a great trait. It's not weakness. It says, you may be better at these other things, so I'm going to lean on you in these different situations. Number 6, and the most important, is the legacy you leave behind. See, an alpha figure shapes your family future. I was reading an article the other day talking about a lot of women, and women on here don't hate me for this, I'm just going to read the stat, like 70 something percent of the divorces right now into the last year and a half or 2 years has been engaged by women. And they said in this study that they feel like the majority of that is because the lack of masculine men. So women think that they're looking for just a man that's going to say yes and roll over. And basically they like that because they want to be the boss babe or whatever they call them, and they basically say, okay, I've got this man now. He basically rolls over. He does what he tells me, or does what I tell him to do. He listens to me. He begs for, whatever he needs from me sexually. I've got him in this perfect spot, and then literally the women now recognize that this is really not what I wanted. I thought this was what I wanted, but then a lot of times they're seeking out, which causes a divorce, that strong masculine alpha man. That's someone that they see that they say, you know what, that's really what I wanted. And that's why I wanted to talk about this conversation, is because society today, they don't want us to talk about this because they want us to just be yes men. They want us to say, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. I'll just sit in the corner. I'll go to the job. I'll make my money. I'll hand it over to my wife, and I'll sit on the couch with my sweatpants, watch Netflix, get fat, eat Cheetos, whatever the situation may be, and not cause no threat to society of being a strong alpha man that has values and integrity. So the legacy you leave behind, your alpha that you are creating to be that role model, that's what shapes your family future. Children carry forward the lessons they see in you, building a legacy of love, respect, and leadership. Now, I know everything I'm talking about is not easy, but when you really break it down, that this is something that's going to be part of your legacy. So you're telling me you don't have the discipline to get up and go to the gym and follow a diet? You don't have the discipline to learn about integrity and values and figure out what your values are, and to stand up for what you believe in, and to be that example for your children, to be that example for your spouse? This is your legacy. Not only if you get all these things right are you going to make more money, not only are you going to feel better about self, not only are you going to make an impact on everyone around you, but this is going to be what you are remembered by. And it's going to be what your kids now are going to inherit, and their kids are going to inherit. Be a man. Rise up. Understand the legacy. Here's 5 simple core traits of a true alpha male. Confidence without arrogance. Being comfortable in their own skin and do not feel the need to put others down. Number 2 is empathy and emotional intelligence. They can connect with others on an emotional level and build strong relationships. Number 3 is leadership through service. Focus on helping others succeed rather than just asserting authority. That's something that a lot of people don't understand. Leadership is through service. It's focusing on helping others succeed, not just standing up there saying, I'm the alpha, I'm the masculine man, and just always putting out authority. Number 4 is resilience. Bounces back from challenges with strength and grace. Number 5 is purpose-driven. Works towards a meaningful goal with passion and determination. The modern alpha isn't about dominating others, but about inspiring them. It's about leading with character, not coercion. Understand that, guys. We can't just threaten people. We can't just say, this is what we're going to do. We've got to say, I'm a purpose-driven individual. I'm an alpha that is proud to be a masculine, strong man, and I have got a dream and a vision that I'm going to accomplish. Leadership is not about dominance, but about leading by example and righteous and serving others selflessly. Now, here's 10 reasons why masculinity and being an alpha male are essential for men. And I'm going to go through these pretty fast because I'm going a little bit long. Number one is leadership is needed in society. Masculine men naturally take charge, providing guidance, stability for their families, communities, and workplaces. Being an alpha male inspires others to rise to their potential. See, when someone sees someone with all these character traits that I'm talking about, they watch an alpha male, how he treats his wife. They watch how he treats his workforce. They watch how he models for young men. Then those people learn from that and say, man, if that guy can be that guy, I can be that guy. Number two, masculinity promotes resilience. Practicing masculinity teaches men how to handle challenges and adversity with strength and grace, equipping them to lead fulfilling and successful lives. Number three, role models. I've already talked about this a lot, but it's for the next generation. Boys look to men for examples of how to live and succeed, and strong masculine men provide a blueprint for young boys to grow into great, responsible men. Number four is confidence is a cornerstone of success. Masculine traits such as confidence, assertiveness, and decisiveness allows men to excel in their careers, their relationships, and their personal growth. The confidence. Number five is healthy masculinity builds strong families. We already talked about that. Masculine men provide protection, provision, emotional stability, creating a secure environment for their partners and children. Number six, alpha traits command respect. The traits associated with being an alpha male, like assertiveness and strength and charisma, earn respect and make men influential in their circles. Number seven is fulfills biological and societal roles. Embracing masculinity aligns with natural instincts and societal expectations, empowering men to act as protectors, providers, and leaders. And then three more. 8, encourages discipline and responsibility. Masculinity emphasizes accountability, self-discipline, and the pursuit of excellence, helping men achieve their goals to set examples for others. And then 2 more. 9, strength and courage inspire others. When men embody masculine virtues, guys, they uplift their communities. They're empowering others to take responsibility for their lives and contribute in a positive way. And then last, number 10, being an alpha male, it creates a legacy of greatness. By practicing this masculinity that I'm talking about and embracing the alpha male roles and qualities, men leave a legacy of strength, honor, and wisdom for their children and the world around them, whoever's around them. So today, I want to leave you with one hard truth fact. Step up and lead and quit the trend of weak men. I read a book probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and this really stuck with me, and this goes along great with this topic of being a strong man and being okay with it, guys. That's another thing that really prompted me to want to do this episode. Is a lot of times, again, like I started off talking about the problem society, we feel like it's not okay to be that alpha male, to be that masculine man. You should be proud in that. But I read this story, and a guy was going into battle in Afghanistan, and he called his wife, and he said, it's bad. He said, I'll just be very honest with you. He was doing some special assignments. He said, I might not live. He said, I'm going into some really bad situations, and I might not make it home. And her comment to him was this right here: I'd rather be a widow than married to a coward. And if you really think about it, guys, us being alpha men, us trying to be a masculine role model for our sons, you've got to dig down deep and say, am I a coward or am I a soldier? Do I take on the responsibilities? Do I have it in me, or can I find it in me to be that role model for my young men? To lift up that community and these other men around me, to lead the way and say, follow me. I'm going to show you what it's like to being a man, a provider, a lover, a supporter, and that role model that young boys are needing today. Thank you guys for joining this podcast. Share it with a friend or family member. The algorithms have definitely picked up. The podcast is growing, and the Hard Truth Podcast is a place that you can come to find the truth about becoming the man that you need to be. Thank you guys. Good day.